What's up, guys? Welcome to the live odds portion of the sports betting video classes. This is what I call market analysis, and what we see on the screen here is a live odds screen. What this shows us is public betting percentage data and then live odds across multiple different sports books. To start off, I'm going to go through some of the columns just so we have a clear understanding of what they mean. Starting right here on the left, we got the ticks column, and this is the amount of bets being placed on the game. So if we look at Las Vegas Raiders, Kansas City Chiefs, there are 16,316 bets being reported on this game. Now, it's important to understand these aren't all the bets being made all over the world in this game. It's just the amount of bets that are being reported from the handful of sports books that Sports Insights uses to collect data. There's about 5 different offshore sports books they use, and then all the data that comes in is from those 5 different offshore sports books. So the ticks column is important because you do want a decent enough sample size when you're analyzing the market. If there's only a few bets on the game, these numbers can be skewed by one big bet. It can kind of throw off the public betting percentage data. But the ticks column, yeah, it's always good to kind of see, depending on the sport, you definitely want roughly 5,000 bets at least before you start, putting any weight into the actual betting percentages. Now, moving right along, we have SPD number sign. That's going to stand for spread bets, and then we have spread money. Now, it's also important to understand in a sport like the NFL, it's primarily a spread sport that's bet. More so than the money line, which is the next columns. A sport like the NHL, now that's more commonly bet with money lines. People do bet the puck line or the spread in NHL, but you kind of want to pay attention to the more popular bet type depending on the sport. Obviously, baseball is a money line sport, at least for the most part. So when analyzing the market in baseball, you want to kind of focus on the money lines. But back to the NFL here. We have spread bets and then spread money. ML number sign, that would be money line bets, and then we have money line money. The next column over under bets, and then over under money. The top betting percentage here, that's always going to signify the over, and then the bottom is the under. So if we look here, Raiders Chiefs, there are 67% of bets on the over, 33% of the bets are on the under, and then the money column over here, 86% of the money is on the over, 14% of the money on the under. Simple enough, right? And then these columns over here to the right, we have the different sports books. What I have here on screen is Circa Sportsbook in Las Vegas. I have them showing as the opener. It's a good book to kind of, judge opening lines on. They're considered a sharp book. They open the market pretty early, so they're kind of one of the first ones to have lines up, at least for the NFL. So it's good to know where they open, and then we see what they're currently at, and then we have other different sports books, 5 Dimes, Bet Online, 2 offshore books, and then FanDuel, which is obviously a U.S. regulated sports book. So it's good to have a good mixture of the different types of books. That way we can kind of see what they're doing based on the public betting percentages. Now, the ultimate goal with analyzing the market is we want to find out where sharp money is being bet, where the public is, betting, and then ultimately how the odds makers are adjusting the lines based on this betting data. Now, there's sharp money indicators we want to look for, and that's kind of what I'm going to be discussing here in this video. And for an example, before we get into that, I want to just go over what I would consider ideal market conditions. And let's see. Let's go down here to the Bears, Packers. All right. Green Bay is a popular team. Aaron Rodgers, popular quarterback. No surprise, they're getting 70% of all the bets on this game, but only 38% of the money. That should raise a red flag. How does a team that's getting 70% of the bets only have 38% of the money? So let's look over at the Bears here. 30% of the bets, which is what we want to see because it's a side that the sports books will need. It's the less bet side, or what we call the contrarian side. Contrarian just means the opposite side of the public, or the least bet side. So we got the Bears here, only 30% of the bets, but it's equaling 62% of the money. This should stand out to you. Anytime you see money over bets like that, it's significant because you got to ask yourself, how does 30% of the bets equal 62% of the money? What we can kind of take from that is that the Bears are receiving some bigger sized bets. It's the only way we can interpret it, with 30% of the bets equaling that much money. More than half of the money on this game is being bet on the Bears, but they're only getting 30% of the bet. So another conclusion we can kind of draw from this is, who bets bigger? We know that the Bears are getting bigger sized bets. Who bets bigger? Now, not all the time and not in every situation, but bigger size bets usually means the more informed bettor, or what we call sharp bettors. Now, we can kind of confirm this by looking at the odds over here at the different sports books. Green Bay opened at circa -13. Now, despite Green Bay having 70% of the bets, the books have adjusted down. Circa's went from 13 to 11.5. We got some books sitting at 12. And this is very telling here, because you would think with Green Bay getting 70% of the bets that the sports books would at least want to jump up to 13.5, or maybe even go to 14. But again, that's kind of showing Bears as a sharp money indicator here, with only 30% of the bets, but they're getting respect in the line here with the odds makers adjusting down from 13. So the Bears in this spot, from a market analysis point of view, are getting sharp action. And this would check off a market analysis box here for the Bears. They look pretty ideal here. Let's go over another example, maybe a little bit less extreme. How about the Saints and Jets here? Again, we like the side that's not being heavily bet. The Saints are receiving close to 70% of the money. So the Jets here, only 32% of the money. It's a side that the sports books would need. We don't mind that. We want to kind of be on the side that the sports books need. And they're receiving almost 40% of the bets. And again, the money, it's less than 50%. So it's a side that the sports book will be rooting for, which we're always okay with that. And then if we look over at the opening and current line, we see that the Saints opened at 6.5. And they're down a full point to 5.5. So that kind of tells me that the Jets might be getting some sharp money. A line move of 1 point from 6.5 down to 5.5, despite only having 32% of the bets, should be pretty telling. And there is a few other sharp money indicators. Now, those are a couple examples of just based on public betting percentage data, what you kind of want to see, or what I call ideal market conditions. But let's jump over to the NBA for an example here. Golden State, 76ers. Now, Golden State's a popular team. They usually get betting support no matter who they're playing. And it's no surprise here. Golden State is getting 91% of all the bets, 76% of the money. This is lopsided bets and money here, all on Golden State. What's the line doing? Well, circa open 3, and they're still at 3. Now, this should be a red flag here. With all those bets and money lopsided on Golden State, the line hasn't budged. This is what we want to call a line freeze. This is when you get lopsided bets and money, but the line hasn't budged. This tells me that the sports books are perfectly fine with all this Golden State bets and money, and they might be taking a position on the 76ers, and the 76ers look pretty good right here. Only 9% of the bets, but that 9% is equaling almost 25% of the money, so there's some maybe bigger size bets on the 76ers. There's not a lot of action, but the bets that are on the 76ers look pretty big, and again, it's a side that the sportsbooks will be rooting for, and we're okay with being on that side. So the 76ers here would be a sharp money indicator when we're talking about line freezes in general. Now, let's go back over to the NFL, and actually let's go back down to that Green Bay Chicago game, because we can actually use this one as an example for a reverse line move, which again is a sharp money indicator. And anytime you have a team that's getting lopsided bets, in this case Green Bay 70% of the bets, but the line has went the opposite way. Circa open 13, they're down to 11.5. Some other books are down to 12. When you're analyzing the market, it's good to think like a bookie. Say you're a bookie and 70% of your clients are betting on one team. The last thing you want to do is make the line more enticing for that team. You don't want to be bringing in more action on that team, but you might want to do that if you have a strong opinion on the other team and you want to invite more action on the already popular bet side, which is what the books are doing here. Again, 70% of bets on Green Bay. and the odds makers adjust down, making it even more enticing to bet that side, despite it already having heavily bet action. Now that right there is the general idea and sharp money indicators you want to be looking for when analyzing the market. Now, there are some nuances depending on the sport, and we'll get into those sport-specific market analysis in a future video, but this should be good enough to kind of give you the basics here. And one quick thing is you always want to kind of keep an eye on the opening line and comparing it to the current line. Where it opens, where it's currently at, and then where it closes can kind of tell you a story or the life cycle of a betting line. A lot of times you can just tell by the opener and the current line player injury news. 80% of the time, line moves are related to player news. Sharp money obviously can move lines, but anytime you see a big line adjustment, a lot of times it's a player being scratched or it's a player likely to be scratched in the future. So just looking at the opening line and the current line can kind of give you a good idea of what the market's doing, and then even kind of some player news too. But I think that is going to cover it for this specific topic here. Hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you on the next video.